Welcome back to the Quicklines edition of the Weekly News Roundup. Quicklines, and of course, we have to end in Sillyville. So let's go ahead and start in a little bit of Linuxy news. Systemd, of course, added the age verification. Some people said, see, I knew it was the devil. Other people are like, it's just a simple optional thing that you can choose to use or not to use. You know, it's basically the same stuff. Like I have never set up a user on Linux and given it all that information they asked for. This is just one more field to ignore. Okay. For me, I don't care. This isn't an end, but some people are having a hissy fit. You can either switch to something else, or you can do what these guys did, and you can fork systemd, simply pulling the birth date field out. And, I think that some distros might, if they really like systemd and don't want the age verification at all, they can choose to either use that new one or just simply take that line of code out. It's not exactly a difficult thing to do for a package manager here. So the field is optional. It can only be set by the administrator, and systemd itself does nothing with the data. It is a read-only field that only the administrator can change. But it still could theoretically be a piece of data that may show accurate information about a user, which means it would be a privacy risk. But that is what the people's point is. The optional has not been enough to stop people from treating it. And the other thing I will point out, though, and I have pointed out in nearly every video I talked about this satisfies the California and the Colorado laws. This does not satisfy New York, Texas, or Brazil. So by caving to this means if they're going to keep on trying to cave to this type of stuff, it is going to be less than 6 months before they are forced to add some part of third-party API that would require you on installation of a Linux distribution to pull out your ID and pass it on over to some company to quote-unquote verify it, and then that variable gets perpetually locked in. Not even a system administrator could change it. And that is where we enter proprietary, dangerous code that is now outside of your control. And that is why I tend to agree with the people that reject what systemd is doing here, because if you're going to cater to the California and Colorado law, you are going to have to cater to New York, Brazil, and Texas. Unless, of course, Texas loses the case, then that one will be off the table. So to me, I think it is foolish to act on this until actual litigation has been finalized. But nevertheless, people are forking the project. So liberated systemd is a fork where all they're doing is pulling out the age stuff. So it strips out what it considers surveillance enabling code, leaving everything else intact, and stays in sync with upstream developers. And some thoughts here. This is probably not something that's going to be a huge viable product, just more of a protest fork. Because even at the time they're writing this, he had mentioned that there's been several more commits to systemd that are not yet in liberated systemd. And so how long before one guy can really keep up with everything that systemd is doing? And that really starts to formulate some form of question. And so that's kind of the thoughts going on with that. We have another update. If you are in UK, of course, your iPhone users will now actually have to verify their age. This is not age attestation. This is age verification, which means there is some external source of information that must be input on the accounts to verify their age. So this works with Apple, and Apple's always had the good parental controls where you have the master account, the parent account, and the child account, of course, is a subsidiary under that, and the parent can choose what the child account can and cannot do. So in this case, the parent accounts in the past has been an age attestation. Even when I got this iPhone SE that had the old iOS from a few years ago on it, that one there had an age attestation. I set it up and it asked, is this for a kid? Is this for a teenager? Or is this for an adult? I simply pushed this is for an adult. Good, done, no problem. All right. But now they have moved from an age attestation to an age verification, which means an external party must confirm that you are of age. Now, Apple is rolling this out very smoothly in that in most cases, typical adults, particularly if you are a typical sheeple and you have a credit card on your Apple account because apparently you like spending money like crazy, and you have a credit card on the account, they're saying, yep, there's a credit card, he's an adult. And most people will never even see this. But for new accounts or accounts that don't have that or accounts they're not quite sure about, then they are going to have to do an age verification. So you can complete the age verification in one of the following methods. A driver's license or national ID. Sounds like a wonderful way to get a bunch of data leaked out. But use your device to scan your driver's license or national ID for best results. Make sure you're in a well-lit area, preferably indoors, and try to avoid glare. Of course, Apple has been working on these digital IDs to embed, which several states in the United States already support these. So if you already have your digital ID in there, guess what? I bet you're already verified. Woohoo! Of course, that's United States versus UK. The second is you can add a credit card to your account in order to verify your age. You'll also have the option to add a card as a payment method for the account. Note that it must be a credit card. Debit cards cannot be used for age verification. All right, so those under 18 will be able to use their iPhones to make calls and send text messages. However, other services may be disabled. You know, it's kind of like we could have avoided all this nonsense if we just have a social contract that says kids shouldn't have smartphones that connect to the internet. Let's agree on that. And then we can leave the rest of us alone with our computing devices. And of course, we had to bring another update. These are kind of the first few stories here are updates, and we're going to get to our main topic, the permission to pee. So the Supreme Court wipes out the record label's $1 billion piracy judgment against Cox. So this is the long running thing that a bunch of people were downloading stuff off of like Napster. I mean, that's how long ago. And the recording industry is like, we want our royalties. And then they sued Cox because, of course, they couldn't track down all these people. These people were poor. They couldn't pay. Hey, here's a corporation with really deep pockets. Let's sue them. And so they sue Cox, and a lower appellate court ruled that Cox had to pay $1 billion to the recording industry for this violation. They take it back up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, nope. They said no. Unless Cox was selling their internet to empower piracy, and since there are multiple lawful uses of the internet, this cannot stand. Of course, because nothing in our Supreme Court can be perfect, we somehow got a unanimous decision with a 7-2 split. Because we can't agree on anything anymore, which obviously makes sense because one of them is the most insufferably stupid person in the world who's asked, what is a woman? I'm not a biologist. You don't need to be a biologist to know what a woman is, okay? Of course, that was the meme question a few years ago. But I have to say, to give all credit where credit is due, even insufferable retards are right sometimes, because I really liked her dissenting argument as well. She also had a great argument. We have 7 justices, which are like, hey, here's the reasons. There's lawful purposes. There's unlawful purposes. They can't say we are suspending you because you've done one thing unlawful when you could be using your service for all sorts of lawful stuff. But Brown and Sotomayor's dissent, they actually focused on what I've always said is a very important issue. And so that is the IP address alone does not identify person. Maybe this is why Microsoft wants to authenticate every user. Hey, we have the IP address. Let's look at the authenticated user at that exact time. We know who that person is. They scanned in with biometrics. Don't use Microsoft accounts, folks. But their argument was still very good argument, and they're dissenting. Okay, this is actually the majority court's opinion. Never encourage its subscribers to pirate anything, and internet access is used for countless lawful purposes. All right, in the dissenting one, Sotomayor noted that when the anti-piracy tracking company Mark Monitor flagged an infringing IP address, it only identified a connection, not an individual. Whether the infringer was a specific account holder, a roommate, or a neighbor stealing Wi-Fi remained a mystery, which is a correct answer as well. So somehow, even in this divided world, we can have a unanimous decision with a 7-2 split. Okay. Civil war is upon us. So, for rights holders, the ruling removes the primary legal tool they had to pressure ISPs to terminate infringers more aggressively. For ISPs, it resolves years of uncertainty about how far they can go in copyright infringe notices. Whether that means they'll need to take less action is yet to be seen. Of course, nobody has commented on the fact that MP3 stealing has not been around for at least 15 years. Wonderful. All right, but hey, it is good news in the end anyway. And now we get into our main story. Do you have permission to pee? Do you like the fact that New York City schools are now tracking how much time your children are in the bathroom? What are they doing with that information? But don't worry, it's secure. It's on somebody else's cloud servers right now. Probably a bunch of people in there monitoring these things. Oh, what's going on with this student? This student goes to the bathroom like every period, man. Look at this. This could be a HIPAA violation, you know. Oh, or the company will call the student's parents like, hey, you might want to check if your daughter here has a UTI. She goes to the bathroom a lot. What? Yeah, such information is logged. New York City public school students are crying, ew, or is that the Ernest Worrell, ew, over a new digital hall pass scheme that allows nosy teachers to closely monitor how long the students are actually spending in the bathrooms and hallways. This is called Smart Pass, rolled out in 167 schools. Lets Big Brother know exactly how long the pass holder, that would be your child, has left the classroom, tallies their overall missed class time. It can be used to detect unauthorized socializing in the hallway. Big Brother! I love Big Brother! All right, yeah. Okay, this is creepy. It all starts with an iPad, so now they put an iPad at the door. The students and advocates, however, call the toilet tracking tool dystopian. You think? All right. Smart Pass tracks time, she suggested, and it was inherently invasive and could easily have negative impacts on student behavior. They said here the city education department spent $368,000 on Smart Pass contracts in 2025, $120,000 the year before. Based on the number of schools currently using it, the cost is roughly $2,000 per school. $2,000 per school or $2,000 per student? 2,000 per. Okay, that would mean that New York City has like 150,000 schools in it. Am I getting that math right? That doesn't sound right. I'm gonna question their math on that. But anyway, Smart Math will inevitably turn a student into a product and turn students' behavior in a long-time record that is exploitable, hackable, and can be used against the kids. But don't worry, the education department is claiming the pricey technology has been vetted to make sure students' data is protected. Come on, it's only being evaluated for integrity by third-party guys in Kenya. I made that part up, but that has actually happened to nearly everything that has been vetted for privacy and security. Think Meta Smart Glasses actually uses Kenya. All of those stores from Whole Foods and Amazon, all of those stores out there, those were sending all of your purchasing data to contractors in India who were watching you like a hawk. Like if you went in there and scratched your butt in those Amazon stores, they knew about it. Okay? And I'm not saying that this company is sending it out. I'm saying this has been the norm for companies collecting this type of data, that they always seem to send it out to third-party contractors to verify the data. All right. New York City public schools take student privacy seriously. So seriously, they're logging it all on cloud-connected iPads. We follow all city, state, and federal privacy regulations. What federal privacy regulations? We don't have federal privacy regulations. New York at least has a couple in the works, but there are no federal privacy regulations. I had a friend texting me this week and asking, hey, like, so one of the businesses we used to work with on a client was they had been hacked, and I suspect my information is in some of these data brokers, and asking what to do. And I pointed her like, there's Aura and other privacy, services like that. It's like, you can have a look at these. And she's like, yeah, I tried to reach out to the one company. I think it was called the People Finder. I think that was one. And she says, I tried to reach out to them to get the data removed, and they replied back and said, well, you live in a state that doesn't have any privacy regulations, so we're not going to do anything. Yeah, that's kind of why I take draconian measures to keep my information out of the hands of data brokers. Okay, and now New York City schools are logging your children's time in the bathroom. This has taken micromanaging students to a whole nother level. This 18-year-old student told the Goth Miss, we're here to educate ourselves, not to learn how to use the bathroom, right? Yes, that's right. 18-year-olds, 17 and 18-year-olds really need to be... God. Without SmartPass, there wouldn't be a way to know which learners are in the hallway, critical when there's a building emergency. Here's a thought. Have competent teachers, okay? Is this the school from Lean on Me, right? There's just like chaos breaking out everywhere. No one knows where anybody is. Also, it doesn't have a good security. Apparently, a student can sign out under a classmate's name, and then that student won't be able to use the bathroom because another student has signed them out. This person wanted to use the bathroom during class. I noticed I couldn't because SmartPass put locks on it. He wrote, if I knew if I didn't use the bathroom, I was going to pee myself, so I ended up running out of the class, and I got in trouble for it. Yes, I am going to have a medical mictation emergency, so I must leave the classroom, and I get in trouble now for engaging in the biological act of mictation. The student also noted teachers can put a time limit on how long they can be in the bathroom. What, does the robot come track you down when you're done? Oh, Lord. If any of you ever hear about SmartPass being used in your school, you had better play them this video. Ivan, this would be a good one to clip for that podcast. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Do you have permission to pee? All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our further on in our quick lines here. Criminals are renting virtual phones to bypass bank security. This is a new scam that I haven't seen before. Guess what empowers it? Data brokers! Isn't this awesome? Because your phones now collect so much information about you. Data brokers can find out a lot about you, including phone models and things. So now what they're actually doing is they are renting the same phone you have, duplicating your phone with the same apps, and installing your bank's app on it, and then engaging in phishing techniques to access your bank. And the bank is not suspicious because they see your banking credentials logging into their servers with a copy of your phone. All empowered by information that is collected by data brokers. Very interesting. So I can't run many banking apps on my security-hardened Graphene OS, but they can run it on virtual servers, which are clones of your phone. Yeah, that's an interesting one. So cloud phones are virtual Android devices that can fully mimic real device fingerprints, model, hardware, IP, time zone, sensor, data, and behavior. This allows them to undermine banks' device-based fraud detection. So at some point, criminals figure out how to use the rent-a-phones to trick people into sharing access to banking accounts or in crypto wallets, which were then emptied. So, of course, criminals found ways to bypass the security protections by pre-warming devices, by adding the banking apps, registering credentials, and running small transactions so accounts and device telemetry would look low risk. Then they move because, of course, people aren't looking at their bank accounts these days. Like, they're like going in and like engaging in microtransactions across your regular bank account. Like, stop doing that, guys. Like, if you need to start putting $1 transactions on your credit card, of course, I think even a soda machine now is like $3. If you need to be running around doing constant $3 on your digital cards, you need to reevaluate your spending habits. Just telling you. All right. They moved to cloud phones, remote access Android devices running in data centers. For all intents and purposes, these are real phones running genuine firmware, exhibiting natural sensor behavior, and presenting a valid hardware attestation. All right. So now, of course, they're doing the account takeovers because banks are pushing your apps more. Behind the scenes, the criminal logs into a cloud phone instance that already looks like the victim's device to their bank, thanks to matching or plausible fingerprints and pre-warmed behavior. Very fascinating. Look at this. So darknet markets actively trade pre-verified dropper accounts created on cloud phones with Revolt and Wise accounts priced at $50 to $200 each, often including continued access to the cloud phone instance. Very fun. So that's, the next couple articles here are actually like developer breach chains. I debated about talking about these or not because I don't know if a lot of developers watch my show. More consumer focused, I think. But this was an interesting one because it kind of shows some of the warnings and risks, particularly since I like waiting and holding back for updating any form of software because, in constantly upgrading software is a potential risk for things like developer supply chain breaches. I mean, at least it's not a supply chain advertisement, but, there's always that. So Glassworm attack installs fake browser extensions for surveillance. So this hides inside of developer tools. So as you're developing things, there's a number of different types of plugins and models and just stuff you can import into your device so that you don't have to constantly recreate everything from scratch. I mean, I do this with building websites. I build most of my websites based on a Bootstrap framework, which saves me a lot of time in putting together a lot of the core basics. We get a mobile responsive system out of the box, and then we just divide out segments, and it's fairly easy to do. But in this here, the programmers get their systems compromised by downloading malicious packages from code repositories like NPM, GitHub, PyPI, and so on. And if any of these seemingly trusted sources is compromised, then these accounts can actually get in here and start spreading malware, not just to that developer, but to every downstream application based on that. And that's what happened. We'll talk about the Axios supply chain, which is based on NPM trust, which is one of the sources of the breach here. And so what they'll do is, after getting this in and running it, it's going to fingerprint the machine. Of course, if it finds anything Russian, it stops because those Russians will get us. At least it's not like the Germans. Wir Wesen making some talk. Okay. But anyway, the second stage is the data theft. So they go into an info stealer, targets browser extension profiles, standalone wallet apps, and text image files, likely holding seeds or keys. And then it goes into a full system compromise and attaching a remote access Trojan or RAT with several modulars, including browser credential stealers and Chrome extension installer. So it will now steal all of the accounts and things that you are logged into on your individual devices. Then what it's going to do is it's going to install a Chrome extension. It pretends to be Google Docs offline. So if you have that and you've never installed it, you may be compromised. And this actually as a surveillance tool, stealing just a bunch of information and sending everything back to a command and control server. And this is, of course, spread mostly by developers. So there's a number of IP addresses. Of course, all of the links here, you can grab this link from the show notes. You can have a look over there, and you can see there's the registry keys you're looking for. Here's scheduled tasks. Here's the browser extensions. And so that's kind of what's going on. Now, a big one of these happened this week, and that was Axios. So this is actually a module that allows individual applications to connect to various web-based applications, this uses a system called Node.js, which is one of those really annoying services. It's one of those ones that everybody puts in that, you go to a site and a bunch of stuff's loading, and so you got all these gray boxes everywhere with the little things sliding all over. People are like, what's going on? It's not loading the data. Yeah, that's Node.js hanging out there, causing what's called a preloader. And one of the things that preloader is going to do is it's going to stop Google Analytics from running down that site load counter because it sees that Analytics sees that as loading. So your site is seen as loading really quickly, even though it's taking forever to grab the data from the back end. Well, that connector in the middle of all of that, called Axios, was breached, and this could have potentially led to a massive vulnerability. Now, only a couple of the servers were breached, so only if you had certain versions downloaded from certain things from a certain time, you would be vulnerable to this, but any application that could have been released under that short period of time could also be infected. This happened because a lead maintainer actually got hacked, or either hacked or phished, and somebody got in using his credentials and put poisoned packages up on the NPM. And so anybody downloading it, I think these were live for like 8 hours. So if anybody downloaded those through that period of time, would have actually put a bunch of malware inside of everything. And this thing is used by about everything that connects to the internet. So these are some indications of compromise. So you can see on Linux, look at that temp ld.py. Woo, look at that, guys. Look through your temp folders for that. If you're on Mac or Windows, you can see what you're going to look for there. But there's that. All right, well, it's another week, and another group of healthcare data has leaked. Health giant data Care Cloud says hackers access patient medical records. Yeah, you see, this is why I do not want medical records on a centralized database. Medical records should not live on the internet. They should never be on the internet. Okay, what about you need to talk to your specialist? You know what? Your doctor can talk to the specialist, and they can do a one-time, boom, data transfer. Done. Set that type of system up. But this centralized place where all these medical records are just hanging around on the internet for some hacker to come in and access because, all that back end is put together by some crazy third party with no security protocols. They're the cheap ones, So healthcare technology giant CloudCare confirmed hackers accessed one of the stores of patients' electronic medical records, including a data breach earlier this month. One of 6 environments where it stored patient records. They were in there for more than 8 hours. The company provides healthcare technology, including electronic medical record storage for more than 45,000 providers, including doctors and physicians at thousands of hospitals and medical practices covering millions of patients. So yeah, all that information potentially breached. Isn't that wonderful? All because we have to have all of our records on the internet at all times. Don't worry, we have great security. The hackers have proved it. Wait, what? All right, Reddit. Reddit is going to require fishy accounts to verify they're run by a human. I will tell you now that if Switch to Linux Reddit account gets this thing, I'm just going to abandon the Switch to Linux Reddit account. I hate that thing anyway. It's a giant dumpster fire. But hey, I do post up there when we're going live. I don't usually post up there when we're doing the rest of the videos. But if you happen to notice that Reddit seems to stop updating at some point in time, they probably asked me to verify I'm a human, and I probably handed it my favorite birdies and walked away. I have not committed to Reddit. Okay. All right, but Reddit will require accounts that exhibit automated or otherwise fishy behavior. That could be me. I mean, I copy a script and I paste it to several social media things. I jump over there, paste, and hit publish. And if Reddit looks at it, goes, hey, that seems a little fishy, please verify you're a human. No. Not going to. But Reddit CEO Steve Huffman said in a Reddit post today, how seeming, the verification process aims to combat unwanted bots from flooding Reddit at a time when AI bots are poised to take over the internet. I don't know. What is stupider? Redditors or AI bots? Okay. No offense if you use Reddit. It's an interesting place, I was going to say. If the account cannot prove that it is human, it may be restricted, he said. All right. Our great, let's see. They say current methods Reddit is exploring include passkeys, which says are a great starting point, but don't prove any proof of individuality or anything other than a human probably did something. Reddit is also looking at a third-party biometric like World ID. Guys, we can scan our irises to keep using Reddit. As a last resort, it may be the government ID services, which Reddit already required in some geographies like the UK. So there you go. There you go. All right. How wonderful. And on our final one over here in Quicklines, Alexa gets new food ordering experiences with Uber Eats and Grubhub. How wonderful. You know what this means? I am therefore obligated to say, hey, Alexa, order me a #1 value meal from McDonald's. Confirm. Okay, there you go. So let me know if you got some McDonald's in your inbox. All right. So this is part of their new discussions. You know, they're trying to get their AI assistants doing things. So if you order food from popular delivery services, Uber Eats and Grubhub in a conversational manner, just as if you were chatting with a waiter at a restaurant or placing an order at a drive-thru. If you got Alexa turned on, folks, be careful who you have over to your house. I mean, you thought your phone was listening to sell you an ad. No, they're listening to send you some Uber Eats. To activate the feature, users need to link their Grubhub or Uber Eats accounts through the Alexa app. Once linked, previous orders will sync automatically, so making it easier for Amazon to know what you're buying and eating. Oh, wait, hold on. Making it easier to reorder your favorite meals or discover new restaurants. That's what it's for. Fast food chains have already begun using AI assistants at drive-thrus, and it was a tragedy. McDonald's paused the initiative after some missteps like AI cashier accidentally adding 9 sweet teas to a customer's order. Taco Bell faced its share of mishaps with viral videos showcasing AI errors. So don't worry, now we got it working. All right. So there you go. Hey, Alexa, order me some Pizza Hut. Confirm. All right, guys. All right. We have got now to move into some of the greatest Sillyville I've seen for a while. So, and I do have to, I'll just warn you now, the last story is probably not for children, particularly if you have young girls. Okay. I'm just going to give you that warning at the start here, and I'll warn you again before we get to the article. But before we get there, Ivy League teachers make students use typewriters to fight against AI written work. That's right, man. You go to college, like, nope, no computers, no phones. Everyone, here's your typewriter. This is epic. Seen right out of the 1950s, students pecking away at manual typewriters, the machines dinging at the end of each line. Once each semester, Grit Matthias Phelps, a German language instructor at Cornell University, introduces her students to the raw feeling of typing without online assistance. No screens, online dictionaries, spell checkers, or delete keys. There you go. Sounds like torture for modern students. What am I going to do without my screen? The exercise started in spring 2023 as Phelps grew frustrated with the reality that students were using generative AI and online translation platforms to churn out grammatically perfect assignments. What's the point of me reading it if it's already correct anyway and you didn't write it yourself? Could you produce it without your computer? Said Phelps. So there you go. Now everybody is learning how to type on manual typewriters again. Look at this. We are going back in time, folks. We are going back in time. Marty McFly has taken the DeLorean back. We are now at classrooms where they are actually manually typing. And that just brings joy to me. We have come full circle. It was true. Was it Albert Einstein who said, I know not what World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. We are losing the battle to AI. All right. I have always warned about electric cars, self-driving cars, and this is a wonderful piece of a warning for us. This happens in China. So there's room for all of us here, okay? A system malfunction caused all the robotaxis in China to stall in the middle of the road. Distressed riders were stranded for hours say Apollo Go customer service offered useless platitudes. Yes, you call in with your customer service because you're frustrated, or maybe you're stuck in the middle of a highway in China, which is not a place you want to be stuck, by the way. And you have your customer agent, oh, I am so sorry. I understand how that must feel. It is so bad. Oh, let me see what I can do. You may as well be talking to the AI bot. It's just trying to make you feel good. But yes, a system malfunction caused several self-driving robotaxis to stall in the middle of the road in China. Police have confirmed after distressed riders were stranded for hours. I'm questioning, could they not get out, or were they just too terrified on the Chinese roads to get out? So the Chinese city of Wuhan began receiving calls one after the other. It hadn't happened that bad since the coup. I mean, really. On Tuesday night, from riders reporting the autonomous vehicles operated by the Chinese internet company Baidu had frozen. Is that not the Chinese version of TikTok, at least the parent company? Do I have that right? So there you go, guys. It's happening. The rider was eventually rescued, but Apollo Go customer service agent provided useless platitudes instead of solutions for handling such an emergency. They just weren't even thinking about it. I don't know. But and on to our next story. This one's weird, and it may not have that tech feel to it. But I am going to make the argument for why this is related to tech. And someone just stole 12 tons of Kit Kat bars, and I wouldn't know anything about that at all. But yeah, someone stole 12 tons of Kit Kats. All right. And the truck they were in is still missing. So someone out there is doing the most oddly specific surveillance, supervillain stuff, or trying to ruin some poor Easter kid's day. This is 12 tons of Kit Kats. I wouldn't know anything about it. All right. So they said a truck loaded with 414,000 Kit Kat bars was stolen after leaving production site in Italy on the way to Poland. All right. So they were all in the form of a Formula One race car, Kit Kats, just for that. Now, here is where I'm going to make the tech argument for this. This is the official statement. We can confirm that 12 tons of Kit Kat products were stolen while in transit between our factory in central Italy and their destination in Poland. We're working closely with local authorities and supply chain partners to investigate. The good news, there are no concerns for customer safety and the supply is not affected. Now, if you are an avid watcher of the Weekly News Roundup, then you will know a few months back, or maybe a few weeks back, we talked about supply chain breaches, logistics hacks. In this type of breach, the scammers get into the logistics scheduling systems because, Kit Kat doesn't have all these. Was this Nestle? Nestle doesn't have their dedicated semis. They have a production line throwing out 12 tons of Kit Kats, and now they put in a request to a logistics company that says, hey, we need to haul 12 tons of Kit Kats. Well, malware malicious actors are getting into these logistics companies and basically saying, hey, we'll do it. And they bypass in there, they get in there, it looks like a legitimate request, and some scammer shows up and just hauls away the semi-truck, and nobody thinks twice about it because that's exactly what was supposed to happen. So I actually think this is probably the result of a supply chain breach, like a logistics company hack possibly caused this lack of Kit Kat control. So, again, I wouldn't know anything about the whereabouts of the missing Kit Kats. But that being said, the comments were beautiful. Here are our comments. There you go. That's a guilty face if ever I've seen one. There you go. This one here, we've figured this one out. Yeah, there's some there. Okay, so they start down here at Florence, Italy. They're driving this way up to Poland, and somehow they got diverted somewhere around Hungary. So, way we figured it out. It's a mystery. Okay. This crew is good. I mean, is this guy something or is he something? Principal suspect right here. Okay. Here you go. The great Kit Kat heist. Bro just wanted to fill some Easter baskets. There you go. Got to rest the Easter bunny there. Somewhere floating around in the internet is a picture of me in an Easter bunny costume. I'm just going to tell you that. Actually, I don't know if it's on the internet, but the picture exists. There we go. Meanwhile, we got here you go. We got some gangsta stuff with their take. Yeah, you guys can't catch a break, huh? So there you go, guys. Now, if you thought though the story about the stolen Kit Kats ends, and I have no idea where those went, but Nestle now launches a stolen Kit Kat tracker. So if you happen to get yourself an F1 shaped Kit Kat and you want to know if it's among the stolen breed, you can actually go to their website and they have a stolen Kit Kat tracker. You can enter in the dates here. And of course, what these supply chain guys are doing is they're stealing these and they're selling these on the black market. And so by launching this tracker, what they're hoping to do is figure out where, they're trying to figure out where this breach was and what stores are selling it. Now, we did cover, I think we covered the story here on the Weekly News Roundup too, where a toy company had a truckload of toys stolen. Same exact thing. In that instance, I think we covered it because the lawyer in one of the people who was selling the stolen toys used AI inappropriately in the courtroom, and the judge immediately caused the defendant to lose and forced the defendant's lawyer to pay for all legal fees for all cases. And that's pretty much the same thing. But outside of that, there is a stolen Kit Kat tracker. So if you do find yourself a Formula One Kit Kat out there, you can scan the code or type the code in there, and you can see if it's there. And then they would kind of like to know the source of who sold you that Kit Kat so they can track down the people who have stolen them. But this is where we get another really good memes. Okay, official statements. And I'd like to say here, I know nothing about the whereabouts of these Kit Kats, but Domino's here says, we'd like to share our thoughts and condolences with Kit Kat following the recent sad news. On a completely unrelated note, we're pleased to announce we'll be selling our new Kit Kat pizza. Outback Steakhouse, our thoughts with our mates at Kit Kat as they navigate this unexpected and difficult time. In completely unrelated news, introducing the new Bloomin' Kit Kat, just $1 while supplies are abundant. I don't know if that was Australian or hillbilly, but Denny's Diner, bad time to roll out our Kit Kat pancakes, huh? And PayPal, may we recommend PayPal purchase protection. So, again, I have no idea where those Kit Kats are. Well, if you hear about them, let me know. All right, let me know. And again, last story here, not a story for young kids, particularly if you have young daughters. It's not a story for them. But the animatronic Olaf dies in front of Disneyland guests. I can't get enough of that. That's so good. Now, let me give you guys with sound this time. Poor Olaf. He's a goner. I guess it got a little hot down there in Disney. Bye, Olaf. Oh, no. So, yeah. Don't worry. According to Olaf himself, water has memories, so he'll be back. All right. Here's actually what he's supposed to do here. He's just supposed to walk around and do this. Well, I guess this guy's doing something. I don't know. So he's supposed to be really cute and cool, but Olaf did die though. So gotta be careful with that one there. But he's putting himself back together as he speaks, I guess. If you want to help support the channel, have a look at the website, switchedtolinux.com/support. We have all the ways you can help support us on over there. Again, I wouldn't know anything about those Kit Kats, but definitely let Kit Kat know with that Kit Kat tracker if you happen to find one. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.